Hello and welcome to this discussion video, as we are going to be talking about the characters from the Star Wars universe that could be entering into the game of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now, we all know from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order that we had Darth Vader come in the end, which was insane. But who's to come in this one? Will there be any characters from the outside of the Star Wars universe that will come into this? Will it just be Respawn's creations? We'll find out when the game does come out. But let's do a bit of discussing of who could possibly be showing up around this time. The sequel Star Wars Jedi Survivor is to take place 5 years after the events of the first game, pulling Cal closer to the other Star Wars media like Kenobi and Rogue One. Set in the year 9 BBY, Star Wars Jedi Survivor has an opportunity to tie in Cal Kestis' adventure with the stories of other beloved Star Wars characters. Now, for the very first character that could be tied in with Cal Kestis is ObiWan Kenobi. Cal Kestis isn't the only Jedi that is going on a grand adventure in 9 BBY. The events of Acclaimed of Kenobi, a limited series, happened in the same year. Although it may be a bit difficult to involve a character like Obi-Wan when he's off having his own adventure, it's possible for Cal Kestis to possibly run into the Jedi Master shortly after the events of the show. On the other hand, it is also possible that perhaps Cal Kestis meets Obi-Wan before the events of his own show, perhaps as a way to bridge to the show's events for his live action appearance. Now for the next character is the Grand Inquisitor. The Jedi certainly have had their fair share of encounters with Inquisitors, and Cal is definitely no exception. However, what is rare for a Jedi to encounter the Grand Inquisitor himself, known as the leader of the Inquisitors of the Imperial Army. This is a ruthless and vicious Sith who is hell-bent on making sure the Jedi don't rise again. He would make a major antagonist for the game and a new and bigger threat for Cal Kestis to focus on, while still being a nice reference to other Star Wars media. Now, this would obviously all make sense because Cal versus all the Inquisitors. Well, not all of them, but a lot of Inquisitors, and if the leader of all Inquisitors comes down, I think this would make more so sense that the Grand Inquisitor does come down, because we all know that Ravus is the villain that you do see that he is fighting at the end. I have a big speculation that he's not going to be the final boss at all, the same as the second sister in the first game, and that was not the case. Now for everyone's favorite character coming alive after all these certain deaths that he's meant to have but he hasn't, is Darth Maul. Now, as we know that he only dies in 2 BBY, he wasn't really a Sith by definition during this era, more so being independent and charting his own path. It may be interesting then to have him to be a source of dark side knowledge that becomes instrumental for Cal Kestis to take down the true dark side force users he comes across, such as Vader, maybe even Palpatine, whoever comes across, even Ravus himself, that the main antagonist has seemed to be in the trailers and the gameplay we've been given. Now, this character that I'm about to explain is that could potentially actually might be in this game, and it's probably the most linked character from all the Star Wars media that we've got. Maybe not the most liked character, but it is Reva. Now, if there was ever one character whose fate could possibly explore this game, then it would be Reva. Once an Inquisitor, she was trying to track down Luke Skywalker on Tatooine and came into conflict with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Eventually, her trauma caught up to her, instead giving him back to Obi-Wan before wandering alone in Tatooine's desert. Reva's fate is a mystery, and it's highly doubtful she will turn up in any other Star Wars media. Shows have referenced Fallen Order, so it could be a great favor that it returns the same favor for games. This could be a great way to explain what happened to her by having Cal encountered her shortly after the events of Kenobi. Perhaps she will even end up becoming something of a main character in the story, or we could just get hints of what Reva plans to do and where she might go. Now, this is the thing, I don't know if Star Wars actually wants to enter into this, in straight, with everything that happened with her and Kenobi. I don't know if they want to enter. I don't know. I don't see any problem with it. I think it'll be a cool addition. I don't want to go into all the details with the Reva stuff that happened over there, but we could potentially see her. I think she links up fairly well with the game and the actual timeline of it. But we've got to wait and know. And now for the second last one that I think could show up, and this is probably one of the biggest characters of them all, is Ahsoka Tano. Now, at this point in the timeline, Ahsoka could really be anywhere, as she's really only known to be a part of the Rebel network by 5BBY. Perhaps you could come across Ahsoka during a mission she is doing for the Rebellion. Either way, she's a beloved character that people would be happy to see, and it would be a huge cameo for the game that could draw a lot more fans from the television series. Now, this would blow my mind if she was in the game. Now, I think also her timeline does really suit up very well for Ahsoka. She's obviously one of those characters that has been coming into a lot more shows, such as the Clone Wars. She's coming to the Mandalorian. You know, she's got her own show now, and obviously all those three, like, they don't line up with the actual game, but they could line up with, since she is a deserter, a Jedi deserter, Cal could potentially meet with her, and they could maybe get onto the journey, because maybe the dark side's too strong for Cal at this time. For the last character that is most likely going to join again is Darth Vader. We did see him in the very first game, and I definitely think that we could 95% see him again, and I think we'll see him for a longer period of time. I don't think he'll show up at the end of the game. I think he'll be in different sections of the game, leading the forces of the Empire to get to Cal. Now, we'll obviously find out and see, but it would be obviously a nice callback to the previous game if Darth Vader did make an appearance in some way, even if it's just establishing his presence in the story, whether we see him instructing Inquisitors, or perhaps a dramatic moment where we may get a glimpse of Anakin underneath. Now, that's a very long shot. I really think the biggest shot that we can potentially have is Reva or Obi-Wan, because I think those two characters line up very well. I think Darth Vader is probably the next closest, I'd say, to them. Now, the thing is as well, we don't know much about Jedi Survivor, which is making me a bit hard to actually find the pieces and actually see exactly where he is, at what state he is. And we just know the timeline, which is still a good starter, but we don't know exactly whereabouts he's going, what he needs to do. We don't know much of what the story is about. That's why it's very hard as of late to be doing videos on this. But as always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching the video. This was probably not the best explanation of the characters. I'm not obviously a big lore person, so bear with me there. I'm sorry if I'm trying to get some, videos in. I'm finding a little bit of information as I can for Jedi Survivor, so I can cover it for you guys and just have a discussion video about characters that we would love to see in the game. Let me know your guys' comments down below who you think could be shown in this game, or who you think could be shown in future games, or even do you think Cal could be in the live action series, which I think it will happen eventually. But as always, guys, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. But as always, may the force be with you always.